Okay, so before I do the share screen thing, hoping it's not done, just a brief little thing about descendants. Just a reminder, it's not all done till all the descendants are found. And so people who say it's all been done are not thinking about all the relatives, because they're related to you too. And people who have pioneer ancestors or longtime members of the church, I always recommend when you're doing this descendant research to start with the ancestor who didn't die in Utah. Because usually if they died in Utah, their children are members, their grandchildren are members. And I mean, for my own clients, I would do it just because somebody might have moved to California and didn't have left the church or something. But generally speaking, when you have that kind of situation, you want to start with a generation that didn't die in Utah, and then you go to the next generation, and then the next generation. And what you're doing is you're tracking all their children's children, and at least down to right now 1911, because that's the 110-year rule, where you can submit anybody before 110 years without having permission. And then
100.
with that,
I thought it was 100 years, so it's 110.
110, because they figure most people don't live to be 110. No. I mean, my friend's mother just died and she was 106. So let me show you one thing, because it's important to write it down so you can keep track of where you're at. Oh, this is it. Okay, cool. So let me just show you how I keep track. And if you've already seen this, you just bear with me. You've seen it before. This is how I keep track. So these are my ancestors. My parents are converts, so I don't have to worry about dying in Utah thing. I'd probably be the one who'll die in Utah. But these are my great-great-grandparents, I think. And so this is how I kind of keep track so that I can pick up and set down and pick it up and set it down and pick it up. For example,
what are you keeping it tracked in? What?
Oh, this is just a Word document. Okay. Whatever you use, like your word processing type thing, you can do it on that. I use Word because I'm most familiar with Word. Some people like to use Google Docs, but this is what I do. So here's, for example, is Katharina de Temple. I just put a note. I can't find her after she came on the ship with her family. I probably just need to look a little deeper. But here's Peter, that's her brother. So there's Catherine, there's Peter, there's Matthew. These are their children. Elizabeth, you see the first bullet. Second bullet is the next generation. So I looked for, I found Joseph's wife, Emma Jacks. I found Catherine's husband, John Parasol. Anastasia, I wrote a little note about that. But here's all of Anastasia's children that I found. So, and then I probably had reasons. Maybe they were born too late or something and I didn't continue, but now I want to go back and make sure that I have their husbands and wives if I need to. But I can go down here and I can see this is where I left off. This is the last place when I left searching. So all I have to do now is go back to this ID number and I know that's where I left off and I can pick up from there. And then I put myself a big note. Don't forget Jacob's children by his first wife, because he was married twice. So this is just a way that I keep track. Just really simple, but pick it up, put it down without even having to go back and refresh my brain, think, what have I been doing? And I just know what I've done. And see, I can go back easily here and look at these people and make sure, why didn't I find Mary's husband? Was there a reason? You know, is there more information out there now? I can go back so I can actually see where I've been and if I want to go back and double check things as well. Okay, the other thing that's kind of helpful is to explore family search and ancestry. It's really, really important to learn about all the hints. I'm telling you that's why I find so many names, is because I take it. For example, I'm just going to give you an example here. This is my grandmother, Nettie Catherine Hallam. So I typed her in. What I do is I do this, click this match all terms exactly. which allows me to click these because I never know how they're going to spell things. And they're very rarely going to spell it exactly right. And so I click all of these just out of habit for each of them. And I put her birth year is 1910, and usually I'll give it like a 5-year range. And I know she was born in Pennsylvania. So it's just bare bones information. Then I just do a search. And what I'll do is, even though I know this is her right here, I'm going to take you to the census. Because the cool thing about taking somebody to the census is that you can look at every child on that. And you have all of these hints right here. So let's say I didn't know that. Let's say that Nettie wasn't my grandmother. She was my grandmother's aunt or sister, and I didn't know who she was married to. Well, look at all these hints here that tell me here's her obituary, here's where she got her Social Security application, another obituary, her birth record. Here she is on the census, along with my father and my uncle and my aunt, and my great-grandmother. So these hints, while I'm on the census, I can look at Ada and see what they have for her. Look at all those hints. Not all of them are going to be right. Like these England ones, that's not her. Then Elizabeth, there's hints. It's just go into Ancestry, put in a name of somebody, and explore the hints, because this is where you can solve a lot of problems that are in the 1800s, just by exploring hints over and over again. Okay, so be slow and methodical. Every person is important. And so sometimes I get in a hurry. It's like, oh, I'm never going to find their spouse. And I just stop and I say, okay, I'm going to really try hard. And then I either figure out they died single, or I find the spouse. Or sometimes I don't find them. That's okay too. So let me show you one example first. Oh, just a minute. I got to go get it off my printer.
Now, if you're looking in Family Search for these same people, what do you find, how they correlate? Are you finding more hints in Family Search or in Ancestry than Family Search?
Well, not that
They said grand opening last week in person. Nope, they're doing Zoom again.
Wait, well, they are. Do you know if the soda machine takes parts? The
I think somebody didn't mute. John, that's a good question. I use Ancestry a lot because of the way they have the search engine here with all of these hints. And then I can click on this hint and I still have the hints, and it's really helpful. But when I'm in Family Search, sometimes there are hints there that are not here. And so I always check both.
Okay.
But I like Ancestry because of this reason. They have more hints that pop up. You know, with my grandmother in Family Search, right here.
Mom,
He has a marriage.
I have the keys real quick.
He only has 9 sources here, where you saw all those other sources that they had there. So
You hear about the young men coming while I was just laying on the couch looking all homeless?
No.
Yeah, they came and brought stuff and said, get better.
Oh, good.
Adrian was like,
somebody, you might need to mute somebody. We can hear you.
It's Christina's name is lighting up when they're
Oh,
talking.
okay.
So I think it's Christina needs to mute herself.
There you go. Thank you. I mean, we'd love to hear the conversation, but okay. So let me just use an example here. And then I'm going to use Pam's. I'm going to go strike. I hope I don't strike out. I'll try and do one of Pam's. But first of all, since I know I can do this one, let me go back to, here's View Tree, go back to Home. And I'm going to pick, let me go back to Home. It's not taking me, oh, because I started with Grandma. Here I am. Okay, I'm going to do one from my ex-husband's tree. Come on, tree. Oh, brother. There we go. Okay, so I'm going back here. He's a convert, so I'm going back to on his line on the Enix. And when you click tree on Enix, you automatically get a descendancy view, which is kind of cool. It's kind of right away, you can see where the gaps are. But I'm very methodical because I don't want to miss anybody. So I started right up here with Samuel Marion Enoch and his wife, Mary Jones. And I put their children here. And I wanted to go and make sure all the children are accounted for. And so I wanted to go find them on a census. Now I could do that in Family Search, that is true. But I can also go over here to Ancestry so I can see all the hints that they have for this particular tree. So I'm going to go to the 1900 census, and the reason I'm going to the 1900 census is because that census tells me how many children they had and how many are still living. And if I want to do it fast, I could go up here to sources and just look really quick, and they already had it, so I can find it really, really fast. All I have to do is type in Sam Enoch. Whoops. Oh, I hate that it does that. I got to figure out how to turn off that automatic thing. Whoops. Sam Enoch, and he's living in Callaway County, Kentucky. So here he is right here with Mary. Now right here you can see Mary. I click on Mary, and it tells me on this census that she's had 8 children and 6 living, but there's only 7 children here. When I actually went to the 1910 census, she said she had 7 children and 6 living. So it was like, okay, I think I have everybody accounted for. So the first person I'm going to go to is Rebecca. And I want to see, I look over here on Family Search, and it says that she's married to Boswell Humphreys. Well, is that true? I can double check. So Rebecca, all these hints over here are saying the same thing about Humphreys, but here's a death record, which may let me know for sure. And so at a click of a mouse, I can see, oh, that's the right person, because Rebecca was the daughter of Samuel Marion and Mary Jones. Marion and Mary, right here. So I know Rebecca was married to a Humphrey. So I know this information is correct. And you can see how fast I was able to find that because of these awesome hints. Now I look here and it says she has 2 stepchildren. And she got married in 1911. So I'm wondering, did she have any children of her own? So the closest census after 1911 is 1920. So I'm going to look here, and she has 3. There's 3 children here, Paul, Mary, and Oscar. And obviously they're not her children because they're all born before 1911. So that means maybe there's another wife, and maybe there's a missing child. So I click on Boswell Garland Humphreys here. Sure enough, he had an earlier wife. Look at her name. It's also Enoch. I can click on her, and I see that she and Rebecca are siblings. So looking for the children of his first marriage is still a relative of mine. So now I've learned there's an extra child here on the 1920 census that we did not know about. There's Paul, there's Lucille, and there's Oscar. So already I have a name not that I could take to the temple because he's a male, but somebody who can be taken to the temple. And so this Oscar, I can click on him so I can find out more information about him. This census says he was born in 1909 and there are not any hints for him. Isn't that pathetic? So what I'm going to do is see if I can find him on another census. So I click on the dad. So I can even find him on an earlier census. And sometimes I have to click on a few to get to where I want to go, because I want to get that back to that 1910. And here he is on the 1910 census. You see, isn't that fun? Here is a 1910. There's no 1910 census here or 1900 census, but all I had to do is just click on another one with a different spelling of his name. And when I did that, then it kind of changed the search engine. And so then it picked up this 1910 census. So on this 1910 census, there he is with her name here is Laura L. Well, on her death record, if you click on it, it says her name, on the marriage record, it says her name is Lovey. And then on the grave, it says her name is Lovey. So here is that child. Here is Garland O. And now I have hints for him. And I can see that he's been buried. There's a find a grave there. And he's buried, if you look here, there's his dad, his mom, his dad's second wife, and there he is. He died in 1928. And I have a birth year and a death year. So I can now add Garland. And they have on the tombstone, they had, what was it? Otis. No, Ocus. Isn't that an unusual name? Garland, Ocus, Humphreys. Male, deceased, born 1907. Where was he born? He was born in Kentucky, probably Callaway County. And he died in, what did it say? 1928. So now I have somebody that needs, oh, and look at that, a possible match found. Oh boy. I wasn't anticipating this. Let's add that match because I know that's him. But now, okay, do you want a quick lesson on how to do merging?
Yeah.
Here he was with Paul and Lucy. Look, they're all three. Somebody's put this whole family in there twice. And so there's Paul, Mary, and Garland O. So now I need to merge these parents and then merge these children. So here we go. Here's a lesson on merging. How's that? So first I'm going to merge the parents. I'm going to take this number right here. If I click it, I can copy it. Then I'm going to go to this Boswell because I want to merge with this guy. Right here, it doesn't appear as a possible duplicate. Can you believe it? Even though it has the wife, although the wives' names are different. So I'm just going to click merge by ID. I'm going to paste that number in there. You do Control V or right click and paste and continue.
Now,
Here's the possible duplicate over here. Here's the guy that's surviving. And I double check this information. This information is a lot more complete. They don't even have a death date. And so I'm going to say, yes, continue. I can bring anything over though, if it happens to be better on this side. But I continue, and then they want me to pick a reason for the merge. I'm going to say most of the information is correct. Relationships match, nothing conflicts. See, they have these nice little canned things here. You can just click on them instead of writing your own reasons. Finish the merge.
okay, I have a question.
Okay.
when you do that, say merge A, the guy you just found, your line is the other one, let's say line B, and you just found line A, and he's in another family line somewhere. Oh, I remember I asked you that question before, but it's a good question again. When you merge that person and bring that over into your line, does that take him out of that other family's line also?
No, and that point you have to determine if there's two different lines, either
Yes.
both lines have to be merged or you have to determine which line he belongs to. But if you don't have time to figure it out right then, or it's going to take a lot more research, I leave him in both families until I know for sure, because I don't want to upset anybody. You know, I don't want to take him out of a family until I have the documentation to say, oh, Boswell doesn't belong to Richard. He belongs to John, until I know for sure who he belongs to. But in this case, there is only one set of parents. It's the other Boswell didn't have any parents attached to him, but that was a very good question.
Okay, yeah.
So now I'm going to merge the wives. So I'm going to take Laura's right here, because they called her Laura because on the census she was called Laura. But on her tombstone, her death record, and everything else, she's known as Lovey. So now it does pop up as a possible duplicate. And so you can either click this up here, or you can click down here. And right here, see there's Laura right there. Review merge. And I look down here, all my information on the right is much better than the left. So I continue, click my favorite little box here. That's what I usually use. Finish the merge. Now you notice they have two Pauls, one Lucille. No, Mary and Lucille are the same person. See, Mary L is the same as Lucille. So I need to merge these two people. So I'm going to take that one. I'm taking it because this one I can tell already has more information. And that's what happens when you do descendant research too, is that a lot of times what you're doing is you are cleaning up family search, which is also a benefit to the world because you want to make sure people are sealed to the right people. And after a while, it just becomes second nature to you. It's kind of like playing Rummy Cube, you know, just have to kind of figure out the strategies of how you're going to solve a problem in putting families together.
And I might add that nobody used the computer faster than you do on this.
No,
I'm sorry. But this isn't what I was teaching tonight, so I thought I'd hurry through that because I wanted to get back to the other stuff. So here's Boswell. Here's his first wife, Lovey. Here's Paul, Lucille, Garland O. Garland still needs his temple work, and they don't have a death date in here, and the birth year's wrong. So I'm going to fix that. So there's his birth year's 1907, because that's what the tombstone said. And then I think it said 1928, didn't it? I believe.
mm-hmm. That was 4th.
So now everything's correct. And I want to fix his middle name. What was that middle name again? That weird one?
Focus.
It was Ocus, yeah. I'm sure he'll want to have that for all eternity. Maybe he will, I don't know. So now I found Ocus, and now I can click on his ordinances and request him. And that was a family that, from all intents and purposes, looked from the outside, looked like it was complete. But it wasn't until I went over here and started looking at these censuses and examining everybody that I found him. And so that's one reason I love to use these hints, because I can quickly get to these different places. and find things. For example, here's even an obituary. But it's not for him, it's for somebody else. That's why you have to be careful. You look at things and say, oh, that's in a totally different place, so that's not him. But here's a death record. If I wanted to know if he was married or not, except for this guy is,
Oris.
That says
says
Aura.
he was born in 1928. Wait, let's look at this.
So, because
Oh, somebody read it wrong. It says 1908. Somebody thought it said 1928. So sometimes you have to look at those records too, because sometimes the indexing of these is kind of crazy. But you can see if you look at it closely, it's 1908, which fits the census. So it makes a lot more sense. Sometimes you just have to think, wait a minute, that doesn't make any sense because I saw him on the census. But we know he's single. I know I don't have to go look for a wife because that death record did say that he was single. Okay. Now I could look for Paul, but I already did, and he doesn't have a wife. And I want to go to and just experiment and see if I can do something for Pam without preparation.
Now,
So-
could Garland and Lucille be twins? Because I noticed they have the same birth year.
Well, Garland, oh, actually, was it this? That was 1908, wasn't it? On the tomb. Wait, what did the tombstone say?
No, 1907, wasn't it?
It did say 1907. That's a possibility. The census had her a year older, so it could be that they estimated her birth year, and I can find that out by either looking at the Social Security Death Index. She was born in 1906, so I can change that. Well, if that's her. Let me look at her find a grave here. 1906. So you can see again, these hints could find that answer really fast, where I didn't have to dig and dig and dig to find anything. I can look at these really quickly. In fact, maybe there's a death record just to make sure. But it looks like she died. If this is her, she died without being married also. Although this says she was married, so it's possible. Sometimes I just want to investigate a little bit more and see what's going on here. Like this says she was married to Roman masters. Is that true? Do I know for sure? I don't see any masters here, the name, so I would need to do a little bit more investigating to see if this is correct or not, because I can't even tell you. Lately with my clients, I'm not finding as many temple names because I'm spending so much time fixing things that people are they're just assuming that these marriages belong with people and they put them together, and because they have similar names, and then I need to go and find who the right spouses are and put them together and put all the families together correctly. So I don't want to take the time to do that right now because I want to try Pam's. But what I would do is I would do some really deep investigating by checking all of these right here. Like here's a marriage index. Let me see. That's for Clay Taylor in 1940. But who is this and what newspaper is it? It's in Texas. She's not even living in Texas. So, I can ignore that. But there's a lot of things I can do to keep investigating to try and figure out, really, was she really married to Roman masters? And who thinks she was? And why did they come up with that determination? Because here it says that she was still single in 1930 because she's living with her father. So that's going to take a little bit more work. But I can do it basically by looking at, you see it right here she is with her even in 1940. She's divorced, living with her parents, because there's Rebecca, there's BG Boswell. So she's divorced in 1940. So let's see again, this find a grave, it says 1994. This really could be her. And if she was divorced, maybe she went back to her maiden name. But I would need to double check on that. And maybe she was divorced from this Roman masters guy. That's a possibility. So, but Believe me, I'll find it eventually, but I don't want to take that time right now. So let's go look at Pam's. Do you have can I log in as you, go in as you, Pam? Is your name going to be spelled Pam Mo? It's not Pamela? You're still muted.
I forget to unmute myself. I don't remember what it is. I just know my login.
I hate to have you give it to me on the phone, but
ELA. Just try Pamela.
Pamela, okay.
Mhm.
What, do you mind giving your birthday to everybody? What is it?
5.
Sorry,
Oh, 10.
10?
May 10th.
May 10th, okay.
May 1955.
This is how you can go in as a helper. Then do you have your temple recommend close where you can give me the last 5 of your membership number?
Just a moment. I gotta get it.
There's 2 different ways of going in as a helper for somebody. And when you go in as a helper, it's nice because you're going in proxy for that person. So if you find something, you want to reserve it for temple work, you can do it in their name and not in your own. The other way is just having their username and their helper number. Either usually it's a name that they came up with. But usually this helper number is the last 5 of their membership number, unless they've changed it.
I have to look here for a minute. I got a couple of wallets I keep things in. Hang on.
Since we're quiet, I can welcome my brother, Doug Baird from Boise, Idaho, who's joined us.
Oh, welcome, Doug. And Trevor's here too. And oh, there's Angel. Yay.
I'm pretty close to the Boise guy.
All right.
Meridian's my temple district.
Oh, cool.
I think that's Doug, isn't that your temple district too? You have to unmute yourself.
Sorry, Pam.
I can't, but I can give you my membership number.
Oh, if you can give me the last 5, that's all I need.
Okay, yeah.
Just the membership numbers on Temple Recommend. That's why I always say that.
Oh, it's easier to find my membership record because Tools has it.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Last 5.
The last 5.
10610.
See, now you know how to go in as a helper.
Yep.
Okay, so we're going to look at her tree. And this is your husband's side, right?
Yep, it's on my husband's side. So you got to go back past Clarence.
Oh,
And
right
it's
here.
one, yeah,
One.
Ellen Mae Johnson.
So we're going to click on tree for her. And we're going to look for descendants. Now, later I can help you look for this right here, which you're
Yeah.
probably trying to know about. But sometimes when I tell people is that sometimes when you're searching for descendants, you find clues that lead you to help you to break down a brick wall. Because some of those descendants may have an obituary. You never know when they're going to talk about, and my grandparents came from, or my parents did this or did that. And so sometimes those descendant relatives will have clues. They may not come right out and say something, although they may, but oftentimes they have clues that may help to break down a brick wall. So that's another good reason for looking for descendants. So being that I'm methodical, what we'll do first is I would pick out a Word document. And I would put their names here at the top. Whoop, go away. Hans, Henry, Mo. I'm old fashioned. I always use, Times Roman. Oh, and I was going to show you how to fix that one thing. Then their first child that I'm going to be looking at here is Harold. I want to know, did you already know, did Harold marry, or do you know?
I have no idea.
Okay, so we're going to look for that first. But first, before we do that, let's go here to Helen, and I'll show you. Not like parentheses. They don't like dashes. They don't like anything other than letters in here. So what I do is, do you want Nellie to be up here, or do you want Helen to be up here?
Nellie.
Okay, so we'll put Nellie here. And then right down here in the middle where it says add information, there's alternate name. And you can put Helen, is it May? Helen May?
Helen May
Johnson here. And so you have both names so that people know that she's also known as Helen May. And you can
Okay.
even put a little note there and say her birth record said that if you want to, just right here.
Okay.
That's how I get out of those parentheses and different things, because
All
family
right.
search,
Because I know we've got a few of those in there. That'll help.
that's why. Or if it's not standardized.
Yeah.
So if it's not standardized, you just have to come in here. What I do is put my little mouse at the end of the place, do a little space, and it pops up with the standardized. So if it ever says the date's not standardized, just do that and click on it. As long as it has this here and this here, you know that it's standardized.
Bunch of those.
Those are the main reasons why you get those little red exclamation points.
Okay.
Okay, so now we're going to see if we can find these people on a census, because I like to go to censuses first, because that's where all the family is.
Okay.
And that way I can look for people a lot quicker rather than just look for Harold, just look for Clarence, just look for Willard or whatever. I can kind of look at them all at the same time or one by one. So I'm going to go to, they were married in 1892. I'm going to try the 1900 census first. So I'll see if there's any source up here that might get me there faster. And there is right here. So these. Just going to click on that. Now, if you want to know how to find a census, there is a way on your home page that you can customize it. And that's what I've done here, because I use the census so often that all I have to do is go to click Ancestry right there and click it right here. So if you want to customize your page, you can do that. Otherwise, you go to Search, Census, US, and then 1900.
Okay.
Okay, so they said that Nellie Johnson, whoops, oh brother. See, it does this where it's like, it decides that, oh, this is who you're looking for. And it's like, no, it's not. Nellie Johnson. See how it pops up with those? That really annoys me. And they're living in Lafayette, Wisconsin.
Sounds like people are putting all kinds of wrong information in.
Yeah.
That's just making things worse.
Yeah.
It's Wyota.
If you're constantly fixing things. well,
Wait, I did Johnson instead of Mo. Ah! Okay, there we go. There we are. Okay, so here Nellie says she's had 3 children and 3 living. Let's just make sure we've got everybody accounted for. There's Harry or Harold. There's Clarence. There's Willard. So everyone's accounted for that's on Family Search. So first of all, I'm going to click on Harry and just see if there's anything on either side. I'll click on Harold over here. I'm clicking on Harry over here. And I want to see what are the hints over here What are the hints over here? Already there's a possible duplicate. Sometimes when there's a possible duplicate, they're attached to a wife. So let's do that first, just in case. It'll save us some time.
Mm-hmm.
Let's just go over here and look. And the duplicate over here has a wife. Now, we don't know if this is the same guy or not, but here's Harold O. Moe on the 1920 and the 1930 census.
But I'm
What-
looking at the parents over here.
Harold.
Oh, on that one, yeah.
So we don't know, is Harold O. Moe the same person as Harold Irving Moe? We're not sure about that because they don't have a lot of information. But they're in Wisconsin. They're in Dane. And so let's look at some hints.
That's Madison. That's, well, no, they were never in Madison.
Never in
Well,
Madison.
I take it. Yeah, they were in Monroe, Wisconsin,
Okay.
that area, not Madison.
Okay. Well, let's look at these hints over here because we can't do this merge until we know if they're the same person or not.
Yeah.
So right here we have Harold Irving Moe's draft registration. So let's look and see, where was he living then? In about 1917, 1918, he was in Greene County, Wisconsin, as Harold Irving Moe, and he's still single. This guy over here, it doesn't say, except that on 1920, it says that he is married. Oh, but it says his parents are born in Norway. So were his parents born in Norway?
Hans was not.
Okay.
I
So this
believe
is-
Hans was born in the United States.
Okay, so this Harold is probably not the same guy. So let's continue to look at the hints over here.
Okay.
So we can see that there's a his birth and christening. So we know for sure his birth date is 24th of December, 1893. We're going to go back here until we know more. Sometimes this is helpful, and you already had that, so we know that that date is correct. And that's helpful because sometimes down the road, there may be a date associated with something with a wife that will help us to know something more.
This one says the mother is Ella May.
Instead of Ellen. Oh. Yeah, maybe the accent was interesting.
Who knows?
Then here on 1920, what do they say for this here? Is this still Hans? Is this brother Clarence and Willard? Okay, 1920, this Harold is living with his father, Clarence and Willard, which tells us right away that this other guy over here is not your Harold, because in 1920 it showed him married with that other woman.
Uh-huh.
So you can see by following these hints, we can eliminate this. But people, because the name Moe is unusual, people will oftentimes will merge it without even thinking. And that's why I spent a lot of time with cleanup, is because they wouldn't have looked to see what happened to him in 1920.
Yeah, Moe in Wisconsin is very common.
Okay, that's good to know. So right now, what I'm going to do with this possible duplicate is I'm going to review the merge. And I'm going to say not a match, because Harold Moe, son of Hans, was on the 1920 census with his father and siblings and not a wife. Okay, so now that will go away.
Okay.
Now let's see, look at some more. Here's 1930. Let's see where he is in 1930. He's still single, still living with his dad and his mom. Where is he in 1940? 1940. He's still living with, that's probably his dad. They probably just described it as Harris instead of Hans. There's no death and no World War II. So if he married, it would have had to have been after the 1960 census. So it would be a matter of trying to find a death record if one existed. Oh, here's a find a grave. We can look at that because sometimes there's a wife mentioned there. And you know what? He's the only one on the tombstone. Well, there's not really a name on there. Yes. Oh, there it is. Harold. And there's no name of a wife. My guess would be that he did not marry.
Well, he died in 1960 anyway.
So we can feel pretty confident that Harold did not marry. If he did, it was short-lived and maybe divorced or something. But at least we solved the problem and we kept somebody else from attaching him to the wrong one.
Yeah.
Well, and here's the World War II draft registration card too. In 1845, they will oftentimes usually name a wife if they're married on here as the person who knows their address. And it says that the person who will always know where he lives is H.H. Moe, which is probably, is that his father, Hans?
Hans Henry.
So even in 1942, the 1940s, he wasn't married then either.
Can I interject? I have a question. So I'm getting the feeling that Ancestry, on Ancestry, it's easier to navigate through lots of different records and to cross-check things than it is on Family Search. But on Family Search, there are perhaps more kinds of records than there are on Ancestry. Is that the kind of pros and cons?
Well, let's say Family Search does have more records than the whole world. Well, I don't want to say that, but because they have, the big repository, it's just that they're not all indexed yet. So sometimes, yes, they have more records. It's just that because Family Search collaborates with Ancestry, Ancestry can now use their indexers and do all of our records. And so sometimes they're getting indexed a little bit faster.
I see. Thank you.
But when you're trying to solve a problem, sometimes you'll need to go into the catalog, which we can do that at a different time, and to try and really solve a problem, because you might need to look at microfilm that's been digitized but not indexed. But that's a whole different story.
It's nice to have them side by side to cross-reference, kind of.
Yeah, it's really helpful because, see, even this right here, they didn't have the World War II over here, but they had it over here. And here's even a Veterans Administration Master Index that's over here, but that's not over here. So I like to look at both of them.
Okay.
Now, on this, with your sheet that tells you what you've done, would you indicate that you looked for a wife?
Yes.
And found none?
Yes. Yes. There. Yes. In fact, what might be a good idea is to even make the mention in here, so that you'll know not to go back to it. You could put it under collaborate is a nice place to put notes. Sometimes I'll put notes in here when I'm trying, especially when I've separated families, I'll put a note in here and explain why and what I did so that nobody yells at me. and what my reasoning is for it, because I'll put the documentation in there, but sometimes I want to explain, a little bit more. Especially like that name Lovey. The interesting thing about Lovey is that actually before I showed you everything on Family Search, they had her name as Tovie. Somebody had transcribed it as Tovie. So I needed to go in there. I kind of put a little note that her name is Lovey. If you look at the actual record, it's Lovey. On her tombstone, it's Lovey, but it's Laura on the census. So I kind of explained all of that because I merged them. I merged this Laura with Tubby. And I wanted everyone to know why I had done that. Okay, so Clarence right here, that must be the direct line.
That is a direct line.
We don't need to worry about that because I'm sure everything's taken care of there. But here's Willard. So did Willard get married?
I believe Willard did.
Listening to it.
Okay, so, and actually look at this death index here. I love the California death indexes because oftentimes they give you the mother's maiden name so you know it's the right person. So his mother's maiden name is Johnson. Now we have more of an exact birth date, the 4th of March. So we can actually go in here and we can add the 4th in here, which may be helpful later when we're trying to find things. You see how Wisconsin didn't have United States? I just did a little space and popped up. Okay, so let's go back over here to our nice little census. I'll just arrow back till I get back to that 1900 census. And let's look at Millard and see what we see. There's a find a grave. There's a World War II. These are things that might tell us, oh, here's a Florida county marriage record. So let's look at some of these things over here.
Still has it.
Because on Family Search, we have the death index and a Veterans Administration index, but we don't have anything that would indicate a wife, even looking in here.
How was it for Roland going swimming yesterday?
Ludine,
Oh,
be
here's the,
muted.
He was probably tired when he got back, huh?
who's not muted?
Ludine,
Oh, Ludine.
Oh my goodness.
So let's go over here and explore a little bit. I'm going to look at find a grave first because sometimes it's a fast and easy way to see if they had a wife.
So they stayed there that whole time, huh?
Nobody named here, so oh rats.
Probably had to go in the other room.
So let's look at his World War II draft card. Oh, next of kin, Mrs. Carolyn Moe. Let's see. His residence is Route 1, Woodford, Lafayette County. Caroline is Route 1, Woodford in Wisconsin. So they have the same address. That tells me that probably Caroline is his wife. So now we just need to go find him on a census somewhere together. So let's go back here. That was World War II. So let's hope that maybe there's a 1940 census here. Here's one. There's Caroline. Ta-da!
found his wife.
Willard's wife, and she was born in 1907. And there's clues over here for her. Was her maiden name really Boffman? You know, that could be. So we can look, actually, sometimes I like to click this find others who are researching because people have trees sometimes. So I can go here and that they don't have anything, but anyways, we can still, to make sure her name really is Boffman, we can look at some of these things. Right here, the obituary index, let's just see if there's something here that might say.
Father Bachman.
So let's look at her obituary. Now, you're not going to be able to do this on your computer because it's a pay website. It's just because I happen to have it always open on my computer because of work.
Now, can we use this website at the Family History Center?
You can soon, as soon as our little the portal, as soon as the portal opens again. The portal's closed, well, for maintenance for some crazy reason. But if you ever do that, call me really fast and say, Diane, can you look at this really fast? And I can.
Okay.
So Carolyn Moe, she was born here, this date, daughter of Mrs. and Mrs. Leon Boffman, married Willard Moe on this date. Isn't that nice? At Woodford. We've got a date, we've got a place, and their children, which verifies everything that we saw. So you can see by clicking each of those different little things, how many minutes did it take us? What, 5 minutes to find his wife? Just by looking.
Children.
Yeah. So, and you can add the children in there. It's just that they're not dead. You have to figure out if they're dead or not.
Yeah, of course.
So only you can see it. So right now we can go ahead and we can add Carolyn Hoffman. Was it one N?
Yes.
We know that. And she was born, over here, 25th of April, 1906. Now, is this Woodford? Where?
In Wisconsin.
The nice thing about these little things down here,
Lafayette.
I don't know what county Woodford's in, but it pops up right there. And then she died. It doesn't say. Oh, she died Wednesday, and this is Friday, the 21st. So she died on the 19th of September, 1979. Did she also die in Woodford? Did it say? Sedona, Arizona.
Arizona.
That's a pretty place. All right. Okay, now also we've got her marriage date and place right here in this nice little obituary. Doesn't always turn out this nice, but because I prayed it did. No, just kidding. Woodford, Wisconsin. Now we want to put this source here. We can put this source right here and attach it. That would be fine. And let's do that first. So I'm going to copy this URL up here. I'm going to go to, well, for Willard, we're going to put it for him too, because it mentions him. Click add source, add new source. I'm going to paste that URL right here. The date of her death was 1979. And then all I'm going to do is swipe this and copy it and paste it right here. And voila, I have a source. Now, I really would like that obituary to be on here because it had all the good information. So I'm going to quickly show you how to use OrphanView. So right here, or you can use whatever you want, you know, but you just want, we want to capture this. So for me, you could clip it. I'm not a good clipper, but other people are. Nancy's a great clipper. I do this one because I know how to do this one. This is what I do. But you can do whatever you're used to. Since I'm used to this, I'll do that. You could do a screenshot too.
Yep.
Whatever you're used to doing, you can do. This is what I'm used to doing. So this is faster for me right now. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to save it. Save it as a JPEG. Oh, it didn't do my OrphanView for some reason. I don't know why. So I am going to save as, I'm just going to put it on my desktop so I can find it quickly. All right, now let's go back to Caroline or Willard or Caroline. Let's go to Caroline, put it on her. Oh, right here, I want to add that same source to her. All I have to do is go to add source, attach from my source box. Because I forgot to show you, but at the bottom of when we were adding that source, it's a default. Let me show you at the bottom to add to your source box. So I always do the default. Okay, so now you're going to learn how to do this one lesson about Descendants. You're going to learn how to do merging, how to do memories. And so here's a memory. I click memory. I'm going to upload a document. And here it is right here. Click this little button so I can tag her. I'm going to put a title, Obituary of Caroline Moe. Save. And right here, who's in this memory? Caroline Hoffman. And now she should be tagged. Yeah. So now, do you want me to go ahead and submit her for you?
Sure.
Click this, request, and because I signed in as your helper, it goes into your temple file.
Okay.
Right here. So under my reservations, you now have Carolyn and her sealing to her husband. And you can print that just by clicking that and print.
Got it.
Okay, now just looking over here, now we already found that marriage that verifies it right here. And so you can actually attach these marriage records too, because it verifies what was in the obituary.
But those are Florida marriages.
Yeah. Oh, it is. She didn't get married in Woodford. They eloped. They got married in Pinellas, Florida. Let's change this. Maybe they eloped and then they came back. I had too many L's in there. I added too many L's. There we go. Okay, so I know I went fast and I'm sorry. But
Gives me a place to work.
I just wanted to at least show you an example, you know, of how it works and to see, kind of get an idea of why I use Ancestry a lot, because it just makes it really, really fast for me to find things quickly. But like with John asking, it's still nice to have both, because we wouldn't have known they were married in Pinellas, Florida, had we not looked at the family search hints as well.
Yeah.
And so it's good to check both of them. And like I said, if you can't find something, you have to do a little digging. But when that happens, if I'm really feeling strongly about it, I might make a list of the people that I can't find that I want to go and look at for later and dig a little bit deeper, or come and ask me about them to see if I can help you find them if you're feeling strongly about it. So, and if you're not feeling strongly, it's possible they never married and didn't have any children. So I'm thinking that I might like to do a morning class on this particular thing, where people come to the Family History Center and you work on your own ancestors, and then I'm there to help you. Would any of you be interested in that? You can raise your hand. Trevor's interested. Pam. Oh, Alice, you can't come. Angel, are you interested?
I would be, but like what time? Because I work in the afternoons.
Oh, on Saturdays? It would be in the morning.
Okay,
I always
okay.
like to do mornings.
That would be fine. Yes,
Okay.
I'm interested.
But I thought, you know, really you learn it by doing it. I can show you it over and over and over again, but the best way to learn something is just to do it yourself and have the fun of finding missing people. But that's my mantra. I don't know if that's the right word or not, but it's no empty chairs. I'm constantly looking for people that got missed, or that people that got connected incorrectly. You know, I want them to be found. So I'm looking for the ones who aren't found. So I hope this helped a little tiny bit. Wasn't too overwhelming.
I don't know if I was helped because I got to try it, but I have lots of things to try.
Okay. Well, good. So
This
nobody
work-
showed, I'm sorry, John.